Virtuous, where you works. Kill the old woman every single day and you know it hurt. Yeah, level up, change your name, you can sever us.
Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Sister Sirach.
Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Sister Odessa.
And we are from the House of Soldier Timothy, IUIC Japan. So this is my daughter. I have her on here today to get some insight on our topic today, which is Meal Planning 101. Child edition. So we want to see meal planning tips. We want to talk about how to incorporate healthy meals in your meal plan with your Lord in mind, with the family in mind, as well as how I was able to teach my daughter, because we have to teach our young daughters as Sarah and even our little prophets, right? They may live on their own for a little bit or whatever the case is. They also need to know these skills as well, just so they can make sure that their future wife is doing it correctly, how they want it to be done. So I think it's good to incorporate the children so that they have these skills so that they can, do well later in life. Okay, so this is health benefits of meal planning. So one of the health benefits of meal planning is going to be minimizing buying unhealthy foods, right? So if you have a plan, you have a shopping list, and you go to the store, you can pretty much stick to your list and not be so impulsive to buy like those extra bag of chips or those extra cookies that maybe you don't really need and is not beneficial to your health. Another health benefit is to track the nutrition per day. So you could track, do we have enough greens in the day, enough vegetables in the day, enough fruits in the day. You can see that and properly plan to make sure you have a well-balanced diet. It also is going to help you control portion sizes. If you plan your meals and you know, okay, for a family of 3, we only need 1 or 2 chicken breasts for the meal, then you can make sure that you only buy that 1 chicken breast and portion size properly per meal. So you're not overeating, and we're trying to burn the fat right now throughout Israel, and we want to make sure that we are controlling our portion sizes. And last but not least, and I'm sure there's many other health benefits, but the next one I would say is the reduction of stress. You don't have to stress about, what I'm going to cook today. I need to plan out my meals, and you didn't properly plan, and now you're stressed out. So it can reduce your stress overall. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I don't have anything else to add. I feel like those are the main ones, especially the stress reduction. When it comes to meal planning and things like that, it can be stressful, or like coming with stuff on the fly can be really stressful, and especially if you have children or you have family to provide for, coming up with stuff right in the moment can be pretty difficult and challenging amidst all the other tasks that need to get done.
Where's the best place you've been to? My business. Every time I go there, my skin glows, my mind grows. It's free to stay there, and it's made just for me.
Okay, so one of the very first steps to meal planning, before you do anything, before you get your pen, your paper, your notebook, right? Ask your Lord. Talk to the Lord of the house. See, does he have any suggestions? Some things that he would like done. What kind of meal plans does he like? What does he want on the meal plan? So one example of this is, as we've been getting our diets in order and changing how we eat in my Lord's house, one thing that he implemented recently, because I'm constantly checking on our meal plan, is he only wants meat 2 to 3 times a week. So we've changed our meal plan schedule and now trying to incorporate only 2 to 3 times a week, or very, very small portions of meat if he does have it more than 2 to 3 times. Very small. I'm talking about 3 tiny pieces of chicken for his lunch, right? So that's something that is very important to always check with him, run the plan by him, make sure that he is satisfied.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.
Number 2 is do some research. Research on how to make balanced meals. Because, for example, you don't want to have a meal where I like spaghetti. Okay? You got a pasta dish, you have meat with it, and then you have bread. So now you have double the carbs, right? You got starch. So where's the vegetables? And no tomato sauce, I'm sorry. Yes, it's a fruit, but yes, it's a vegetable, but we need a salad. We need some greens, some raw vegetables to help digest the carb overload, right? So that is one thing I would definitely recommend, is do some research on how to plate, how to have a balanced plate. Do you have anything to add?
Definitely a balanced plate. You don't want too many carbs or too much meat on a plate. You definitely want balance, and vegetables are very needful for dinner. For any meal you have, vegetables should be present.
Yes. Now, I would give 2 tips on when you're making your meal plan, and one of the tips is something that we do, but if you just watch the culinary podcast that Sister Avia did from the House of Yowanathan, it was really excellent. One of the tips that the chefs gave was to also think about what drink you're going to serve with the meal. And this is very important. So for example, I like to serve oolong tea. This is an Asian tea produced in Japan, and it's green tea, but they ferment it. So it's fermented green tea is what oolong is. And it is excellent for digesting your food. You can provide a cup of warm oolong tea with your meal to drink before your meal or to drink after. It's just going to help you, especially if you're if you're eating fatty foods like something fried or something heavily starched, right? The oolong tea is excellent. Tip number 2 is to serve a little bit of pickles with every meal. It might sound weird. It might sound, oh, that doesn't go with the meal. Yes, it does. It's just a matter of what type of pickles. You can mix it up. You can do cucumbers, you can do radishes, you can do onion. Just something, doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little dish of pickles will also help with digestion. Any other tips that I left out that you would like to add?
That's pretty much it. Tea and pickles are very important. Water, those are the things that you want. Anything that's citrus is really good. Anything for breaking food down to kind of go with the meal to end the meal off is important.
Right. Citrus is also great. You can do homemade lemonades, especially in the summer. No sugar, right? No sugar. Don't add sugar, sis. Like, use a sugar substitute. You can use agave. You can use some honey. You could use, I think in the podcast they mentioned stevia. I'm sorry, I haven't lived in Babylon for almost a decade, so I never use stevia. I don't even really know what that is. I use agave or honey. But you could use stevia. I don't remember if they mentioned anything else, but something that's healthy, a substitute for sugar.
Yes.
Excellent point. Because you don't want to eat all those carbs and now you're drinking like this sugary drink. It's not good. Next tip is to be a nutritionist in your house. You must figure out how to incorporate vegetables that maybe your Lord or your children or even yourself, sis, maybe there's some vegetables you don't like. how to incorporate them so that you don't miss out on vital nutrients. So Odessa has a couple examples for this.
So for one example, of my father, for instance, he's not a big fan of mushrooms or tofu, but mushrooms and tofu have vital nutrients in it that we need on a daily basis, especially mushrooms. So some ways to incorporate that may be cutting mushrooms up small, where he can't even see it. A lot of times he doesn't even notice it's in there. Another way can be to puree the mushrooms. So I've made like cream of mushroom soup from scratch, and he loves it. You know, I've made it many times, but he doesn't know that there's mushrooms in it, even though it's cream of mushroom soup. He doesn't like the taste of the mushroom, so that he can't taste it, you can dice it up, you can puree it, chop it small, cook it down further. Those are just a couple of things you can do.
Right, and something cool that we do is we'll change the name of something, because sometimes if he hears, oh, here's a mushroom soup, he's like, I don't like mushrooms. No, we made you a creamy vegetable soup. And he's like, okay, and he'll start eating it. Oh, this is so good. What you got in here? And we'll be like, oh, it's mushroom. Really? I wouldn't have known that. This is really good. So sometimes we'll change the name so that he doesn't have that first instinct of, oh no, mushrooms. So that could be really helpful too. And what about for tofu? How did you get him to eat some tofu?
Well, he does like fried tofu. Eating fried tofu is not always good because it's fried. So another way you can do it is frying it in the oven. Might be better than using oil. He also likes it seasoned. So as long as it has a lot of seasoning in it and it's grilled, he'll eat it like that. So that's maybe soaking the tofu overnight in soy sauce, mirin, which is...
mirin is a Chinese cooking wine.
Yeah,
that's
Chinese
called mirin. It's mirin, and it's fermented. It's a little sweet, so it's an excellent pair with soy sauce, which is also fermented. So make sure if you buy these ingredients, you get a good one. Soy sauce, I have made it from scratch. I went to a class. It is fermented, excellent for gut health. Mirin, same thing. It's fermented, excellent for gut health. Okay, so make sure you buy a good one. They do have ones out there that have not been authentically fermented, so they are high in salt, they're high in sodium, they are not good. So just make sure you check the labels and check the company that you're purchasing from. Behold, the Israelite woman, timeless, regal, unshaken. For though the world has forgotten, and the nations claim it as their traditional garments, we remember. It was our foremothers, torn from their land, who first shaped these renowned patterns. Captive hands forced to craft beauty for the very ones who held them in chains. And yet, beauty remained. Her modesty is majesty, her presence a proclamation. The embroidery that adorns her is not borrowed. It is returned. It whispers of stolen heritage, a stolen identity of forgotten truths, and of a royal bloodline that endures. She carries the legacy of her foremothers, resilient, wise, and unwavering. She is not simply adorned with beauty, she is the beauty, woven in strength, remembered in dignity, restored in truth. The Israelite woman. So I have a question for Odessa, because I did teach her how to meal plan, and we're going to go through how to get children to meal plan, or if you don't have children, how can you implement meal planning for yourself as you prepare to have a Lord. we plan for a whole month. So currently right now we're about to be in the month of May. We are working on finalizing the entire May schedule. We have it broken down week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and some months it's like a week 5 if there's a couple extra days. Okay, so what tasks were you given as a young daughter of Sarah to develop the skills of meal planning for an entire month, including food shopping for each week, as well as preparing all meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the entire month?
It started off as an interest. I'm always interested in cooking. And so once I explained my interest, it was like, okay, well, if you're interested in it, and we know the Bible says to teach your daughters and your children things of that nature, I was assigned to cook dinner frequently. So cook dinner a couple times a week. And then after that, it turned into cooking lunch and dinner. Cooking lunch and then cooking dinner, and then after that went on for maybe like 2 days a week. I did that. Then I got bumped up to a whole week of me cooking, and then maybe 2 or 3 months of me doing a week, like every other week I would cook. Then it turned into me doing a whole month by myself. So that's kind of how we worked up to doing like a whole month of me meal planning.
Yeah, so start them off with small tasks. Okay, prep one meal and then check it. Make sure it's balanced. This is a teaching moment. Take them to the store to buy it, right? Show them the prices of the items. And then, so as she stated, we slowly increased how much responsibility that she had, from a few days to multiple meals a day to doing a whole week. And after she did that for a month, then we bumped her up to 2 weeks. We did that for a couple months, and then she had to do a whole month of all the cooking, food shopping, budgeting, the meal plan, as well as continue to upkeep with her daily chores around the house and schoolwork. So that leads to my next question, is how did you maintain preparing all the meals for a month while maintaining your schoolwork, completing daily chores, and keeping up with your works in the body?
I would say it takes balance, and that balance would be time management. I didn't really have a whole lot of time management skills as I was getting trained. Like, my parents were teaching me time management. I wasn't really clicking as much as it needed to. For me, I wasn't really as consistent as I should have been. But once I had to do the meal planning, I started to see the importance of consistency and time management. So I started to cook. Like, my mother gave me a tip to cook in the mornings, whether that's meal prepping and then cooking later, or that's cooking the whole meal in the morning and then heating it up later, so it can save on time, especially with other chores and tasks and school. So that really helped. And yeah, so that's what I would say helped.
Yes.
What they talking about? They talking about nothing. 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 They ain't talking about nothing. Peekaboo.
So as we wrap up on this meal planning, what are some basic meal planning tips that you would give to children trying to learn meal planning?
I would say when you go about meal planning, I would say to make sure you have a variety of vegetables, because if your vegetables aren't what'd you say, like variety?
Colorful.
Yeah, that's a good word. Colorful.
In season.
Yeah, in season. It can become repetitive for the people who are eating it. Also, you're not getting all of the nutrients you need from each vegetable, so that's very important.
Shalom, Royal Beauties. Are you ready for the revolution? The revolution will be televised, and the revolution will be live. Join us at thedaughtersofsarah.com and join IUIC TV. Thank you.
Any other tips?
Don't repeat the same meals in 1 week. Even with leftovers, I would say leftovers are good. I would say that, for instance, in our house, when I have a lot of leftovers, like for instance, this past week I had a curry left over. I didn't serve curry the next day again. I served it 2 days later. So you can repeat meals, but I wouldn't do it back to back, because it can maybe seem like, oh, you didn't put effort in it, or like, you know, people may perceive it a certain type of way. It could be like the same thing, and people might be tired of it. And then you can also take meals and revamp it. So maybe this meal you put it with rice, and then the leftovers you can put it with pasta.
Right.
So it seems different, but it's not. But you're also getting rid of leftovers, not wasting money, and throwing stuff away. So that can definitely help.
Right.
Another thing is to try different foods. That's always great. We tried to do some African dishes or some Benji dishes. Like, switching the dishes up can also be better, so it's not just the same old.
Right.
As well as don't meal plan your lust. So
what do you mean?
To expound on that more, especially as children, you may want, like, I don't know, you may want pizza, or you may lust after pizza or hamburgers, right? But you don't want to always cook what you want, you know. So consider the household, consider what everyone else wants, and for you to get the responsibility to meal plan, be mindful and be intentional with your cooking. So don't just always cook like the things that you like, or you're into. Cook other things, consider the family, cook healthy food, those types of things. You got to keep that in mind.
Right.
Yes. And that will go into writing out, like, for each meal, write out the ingredients. So I do that before we go food shopping. I take each meal in itself and write out the ingredients for each meal. So when I go to cook, I make sure I'm using all the ingredients. I'm not just going based off my head, you know. So making sure you have all the ingredients written out, that'll save you when you have to go and shop. You'll be more intentional about it.
Right.
And also, when you do go shopping, to consider your budget. So you may be lusting after chips or cookies. You may want to consider your budget and say, oh, I don't have the money for this, or I have the money for it, but I can't afford it. That's the thing. A lot of times we may have the money for it, but you can't afford it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't afford to buy it. You got the money, you can buy it, but you can't afford it. So being mindful of those things will help.
Right. Using a calculator, right?
Yeah.
How do you use the calculator at the store?
So as I buy, or as I go and to gather the different vegetables and different ingredients I need for my meals, using a calculator and inputting the prices for each thing, and at the end you can kind of see, okay, I have this much money until I get to my budget. I have this much money left until I get to my budget. So you can see if you have wiggle room to buy extra something, or if you have to take something off because you're over your budget. So that really helps.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Anything else?
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, for Meal Planning 101, you want to consider nutrients, right, for each day. You want to consider your budget. You want to ask your Lord, make sure that He's satisfied and incorporate the things that He desires. You want to think about portion control. You want to make a shopping list. Try to plan a month ahead, right? So you can reduce stress and you can kind of go each week, and all you got to do is just write out your shopping list. Try not to repeat meals. Have a variety of vegetables each week. And most importantly, stay in the spirit. Do some research. Find some recipes that you like, right? Learn different skills so that we can level up and be better planners, because overall this is going to help not only our physical health, but it's also going to help our mental health, because you're not as stressed. And when you have the proper nutrients every day, it has a positive effect on your mental health as well as your physical health. So I hope this really helps. Thank you so much, Odessa, for joining us today and sharing your experience of being a child who is into meal planning and helps. So, shalom, Most High in Christ bless.
Thank you. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless.